Continuing here, I want to go over a few thoughts from this past week and slightly beyond that, of which I've had a lot of thoughts. But yeah, folks, I tell you what, we are in a lot of trouble. We definitely need God's help. And the best thing we can do as individuals is to just get it. Just get it. That this whole divisive agenda is what it is. Okay, we're being manipulated from on high in this world power structure, this world power system, this pyramid of power. We're all and it's so sad to see so many really decent people just are minions to the system and prescribing to a go along to get along, path of least resistance, ignorance is bliss thing. And I just know that we're going to have to get hit upside the head with something, but we can't go on this trajectory indefinitely. Okay, we cannot allow the victims of this thing to keep dying out in the cold, and just the misery and the increasing misery of unaffordable housing, and getting impossible practically to enter the middle class of home ownership. Okay, and California's leading the way, and we're ahead of the curve, and nobody else in the country gets it as much yet. That hey, high housing costs are not a good thing, contrary to popular belief, because you've been trained thusly by the mainstream media. I mean, how are we going to put? Somebody tell me how we're going to put this thing in reverse. How are we going to extricate ourselves? How are we going to fix this problem of just Zimbabwe in slow motion? Okay, and what universe is that better than to have it in slow motion? Just like the Band-Aid analogy, you want to rip the damn thing off, let the chips fall where they will. We need a reset. We need to push the reset button here, economically speaking. And God Almighty, it's just there's going to be so much resistance to it. And people peddling lies and deceit and tricking people to believe in the way they want them to believe, like good little puppets. Okay? Just listen to us. Listen to your masters. We're the money masters. We love money the most, so you better cling to us and listen to what we have to say and the spirit thereof, and just listen to the beast. The beast will tell you what's right. Just go along with the establishment and the status quo, and you'll be all right. But if you don't jump on this bandwagon, okay, then, hey, you know what? You deserve what you get. I mean, that's their attitude. They're creating this kind of divide. I mean, classism, yeah, it's involved, and it's sick. But it's so much worse. I mean, remember, the most intelligent people in any society are always the most upright, the most decent, the most righteous people, okay? Because they know that's very important. That's a very important character to behold, to cultivate, okay? So it's the good, decent people out there that are these are often the downtrodden now. And they just, they say, hey, look, I don't want to play a rigged game. I could succeed at this game. I could just play it like this guy. I could just be more aggressive, be an alpha male, and go out there and do good business, and just, exalt those and give accolades to those that have succeeded as defined in the secular sense, the worldly sense. Okay. And it's a really sad state of affairs. And I feel really sorry for the race at large, for humanity. Okay, I know my suffering's not in a vacuum. I know my life is really very simple. My cost of living tax is very low, relatively speaking. And still I feel the burden. And still I feel the heat. I mean, you don't please these people. I mean, you don't get to pay your bills, man. That's a big deal. Okay, so, I mean, this idea that we're not all money lovers is stupid. God, God already knows these things, these fears and insecurities we have, and it has everything to do with money. And he knows that we love money, of course, because money gives us security. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Of course we do. For good, sound justification. We all love money for good reason. God knows it. It doesn't help to lie and say we don't for those same reasons I just spelled out. But will you also admit that you despise it, that you wish it was never invented in retrospect? And do you look at all the problems it's caused all through the ages? The death and misery and destruction that is because money has motivated people into war and all kinds of horrible things through the ages, all the crime, the vast majority at least, it's money, white collar crime, blue collar crime, desperate crime. I mean, it's sick. We're a sick race. And it has everything to do with money, and it's Satan's ambrosia. He'd starve to death without the junk, okay? And that's what we have to focus on. Okay, you could call it idealism and me pipe dreaming, but your Bible is very clear. There's going to be sea changes to beat the band. Unprecedented sea changes are coming to this earth at the hand of God, because God says this is his will. It's a thus saith the Lord. So it's very positive and optimistic in the long run for the decent, for the upright people. But just remember, right now, those same people are being, crushed and trampled under hooves. They run roughshod over by the establishmentarians, by the status quo of the system. They don't want changes. They don't want you to talk about reality, facts, logic, mathematics. They don't want to hear that crap. They don't want you to try to pull people out of confusion, out of ignorance. So do it. Defy those people, those evildoers, and say, no, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So you on a one-on-one basis with anybody, I mean, you can spark a conversation with anybody. I do it all the time. Okay, it's not that hard to make them think, give them some food for thought about the stuff I teach and preach. I mean, you want to talk about capitalism? Let's talk about capitalism. Let's talk about 2008. Was that free market? Let's talk about free market. You want to, all these words have terms that have definitions. So let's discuss how we define it. Should we trust the Webster's definition, or should we just, see what it's evolved into or devolved into, what the meaning of this term is devolved into? That's what, we really need to come out of Babylon, all of us, the confusion and the ignorance about these issues, and just know what we're looking for, man. A rising tide of prosperity across the board is the only answer. How is that socialistic? So nobody can call me a socialist. A capitalist, yes, but it has nothing to do with the kind of capitalism that I've seen in this country for some 55 years. For one thing, the Federal Reserve shouldn't have existed for 55 years, for sure, for sure. The objective of true freedom, quote freedom, is unencumbered and absolute. Branches of selective forms of freedom are encumbered and therefore subjective. So yeah, freedom is a very subjective term, but people bandy it about. But people that bandy this term freedom in America and all this, you need to stop them in their tracks. Say, please explain. Please define what that means to you exactly. In what way are we talking about freedom? Okay, so I'm just saying, folks, we all need to think and step way the hell outside the box. With our higher mind, observe our lower mind, and watch the words come out of our mouth. Heed the warnings in the book of James, chapter 3. It's all beautiful, poetic, eloquent stuff that's being taught there. Very, very good advice. Good, sound advice, man. Am I the only one who wonders such offbeat things as, why was the term master changed to employer? And why was the term servant changed to employee? Do neo-terms in any way alter the, quote, slave master relationship? You got to wonder. Minimum wage is like legitimized slavery in my mind. If they're not going to keep up with the cost of living, slowly more and more enslaved. That's what they're doing. They've got a slave class, and that's how they're doing it legally, right under your noses. By you not demanding commensurate, proportional, equivalent cost of living adjustments for minimum wage workers. Why in the hell wouldn't you? What's unreasonable about that? Just so they can stay even Steven. Why wouldn't you do that? How dare anybody blame them for inflation when they're pointing to inflation as the cause for needing cost of living adjustment? I mean, this is the world I live in. And so few people seem to understand these very pertinent, glaring facts that I'm putting out there. Nobody else talks like me. What is wrong with people? God help us, man. I mean, One of the many things people never seem to wonder is if we, as free, quote, free Americans, all decided we want to be money lenders, pray tell, who would we lend to? Who would be stupid enough to borrow when they are a lender? Am I the only guy in the world that thinks about I'm the only guy that I've ever heard point that out? Yeah, let's say we all want to be, we're just determined, this is it. The only way I can ever be happy in life is if I'm a banker, like Kramer. Remember that episode of Seinfeld? So everybody, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that we all just insist we've got to be lenders and not borrow, that's it. That's my business. All of us. How would that work? Does anybody but me think about these things? I wonder. I really wonder. It doesn't seem like it. I don't hear anybody talking like me. Start to think you're crazy, but then I realize, hey, you know what? I actually am studied. I'm researched. I've investigated stuff. I know what I'm talking about regarding capitalism. It's crazy. As being, quote, childlike is imperative to eternal success, being, quote, childish is an anathema to our souls. Right. Jesus said that. He said, lest you be like little children, innocent like little children, you shall never enter the kingdom of heaven. But being childish, that's immature. That's like bratty. We're not supposed to be that. If as a righteous human being, you feel compelled to expose the fruitless deeds of darkness, aka evildoing in the land, rest assured you will be hated by same said evildoers. The trick is in, first of all, knowing such hatred is not valid, not warranted, and secondly, don't give such enemies an opportunity to detest you by mocking and dehumanizing them. Right. You don't want to, this is not the eye for an eye thing. Okay, Jesus pointed out the flaws in that. Okay, that is not the way we're supposed to live. Okay, that's an evil teaching from the pit of hell. No, you treat people the way you want to be treated, not the way they treat you if it's badly. Okay, that's it. You've got to take the higher road. You've got to. You call yourself an ethical, moral, upright, decent, righteous human being. That's what you got to do. That's the cross you have to bear. And you've got to do your honest, level best to fulfill that duty to God and man and to yourself. Conscience. Valuing your conscience. And a lot of it just comes down to values. The people running the world, they don't value humanity. They'd much rather keep their fortunes, and 90% of the other people just die. Maybe even their own family members. They say, it's all right, I'll sacrifice them as long as I get my life. I get to keep my fortune. That's the spirit of the people running the world. Evil, man. Rest assured, your enemy hates you for exposing their evil goings on. Just don't give them any cause to actually despise you. Being, quote, rich in no way equates with being intelligent, any more than being poor equates with being stupid. Instead of only the elitist criminal class having their cake and eating it too, it's about time that the people at large begin having their cake and eating it too. Yeah, we'll just bake another one. We're the ones doing all the work anyhow. Why not have our cake and eat it too and just bake another damn cake? May God help humanity to be truly free, free from the controllers, the money masters of misery, a false and evil God, pseudo-God, I should say. If anything I say ever becomes a quotable platitude, I have only two requests. Number one, that all credit, glory, rightfully goes to God. And number two, that you don't dox me, bro. Somehow I think I might have read these things last week. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. The notion that a typical man can be content alone and self-satisfied is a myth. Such delusional thinking runs contrary to reality. The reality that we humans, being made in the image and likeness of God, have a divine instinct to be whole, to be together as male and female. On that, women fare much better than men. That's why I often will say I think women may really be more evolved in some ways. I really do, than men. Maturity. I mean, how many guys think about what women go through to procreate, to keep humanity from going extinct? I mean, pushing a baby out your genitals, guys. Maybe cutting it out of your stomach. Yeah, you think you wouldn't? Okay, I personally would probably still be a virgin. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how driven women feel, that God just has his hand on them and says, look, you got to do this thing. And I don't know how that works. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I have just a great regard